Hello and welcome to this week's Sidebar. We're here to discuss episode 7 of season 3 of Proof. I'm here with Jacinda and Kevin. Hey guys.
Hey, Susan.
Hey, Susan.
So far in the season before this, you've heard about Scott's case and his trial, his conviction, what happened afterwards. And in this episode, you heard about how our investigation began in Kalamazoo. Now, this was not the first trip that was made. Jacinda and Kevin did go out to Alabama to see Stacy before this, but this was our first time being back in Kalamazoo since Jeff's case. And we started talking to witnesses out there. As you heard in the show, one of the questions we had going into Kalamazoo that time was, what did this guy named James Long look like? And we'd spent a lot of time thinking about it, didn't know anything. And I think part of me was certain that when we did get an answer, if we got one, we were going to find out he looked nothing like the man outside the bike shop.
But he looked everything like the man outside.
But he looked everything like the man. Yeah. So I was like, it's going to be an easy theory to disprove. We'll just knock it out, move on to the next one. And no, it turned out that was not the case. We also found out, though, that not only did James Long look like the man outside the bike shop, the two coworkers that we spoke to had both always kind of thought it was him.
Yeah, I mean, they always had suspicions or a bad feeling about it, and they always wondered if he could have had something to do with it. But like a lot of witnesses we talk to, once someone is arrested and convicted, they assume there's evidence proving that person did it. So,
Sort of, but both Lori and Karen both said, like, we never understood why he got convicted. They weren't saying he was innocent. They were like, they were always kind of confused by that.
yeah, they
And
didn't know that they can't sit through the trial. So they had questions they didn't know, but they're like, it's odd. It's weird. Earl wouldn't have opened the door for him. Who is this guy? Like it didn't make sense, but it's like they just trusted the outcome.
You find in, I think, every wrongful conviction case that there are crucial things that fall through the cracks, for lack of a better term. And I think that the interview that the two of you did with Karen Raymond, where it becomes clear to her that nobody knew, particularly nobody in the cold case team knew, that she suspected James Long might have had something to do with it, sort of floored her. I think there are these moments that just keep falling through the cracks for Scott Baldwin and for other people that are wrongfully convicted, where, if somebody picks up on them, things are very different. Same thing with the bank bags. But maybe if everybody knew that James Long was, in the minds of two of his coworkers, someone that they had questions about, and that he actually looked like the man who was seen outside the bike shop that night, things would have been a little different. But they didn't actually end up even seeing him. I mean, he's in Alabama and the cold case folks don't even see him face to face. It's just a
what's
phone
funny
call.
is they could have gone to see him, though. So and saw Stacy in person. So it would have been a very short detour, hardly a detour at all for them.
I don't remember exactly when we all realized that Stacy and James Long were like a half an hour apart, if that. But I was like, wait, what?
Like, that's convenient.
Yeah. Convenient and just stunning. Like they both leave Kalamazoo and they end up in this particular point. Like, for all we know, they could have been shopping at the same stores for decades.
For the original detectives in the case, even if they didn't know there were suspicions about James Long, just as a matter of like basic routine, the last person to see the victim alive, you kind of got to check out. And James was the last one to see him alive when he locked up the store the day before. But when they question like Lori, who was with James when they found the body, they don't go into any detail. They apparently never tried to get her to even comment on what her coworker had been acting like. Whereas she recalls it as being instantly sort of, kind of alarmed, like something's not quite right with how he's responding to the fact our boss is here dead in his house.
Yeah, she said it was weird. She sees some blood on the couple drops of blood when they're opening the door, and she's like, something's wrong. And James just goes the other direction and she heads to check on Earl. And she always just felt like his reaction wasn't right. Something was off about his reaction. Now, we're doing the same things we've heard before about like, Scott didn't react right when Madison arrested him, or Jeff didn't react right when he was sitting in the lawn reading a book. It's not, it is what it is, right? But
But
it is
it's worth noting too. It's not like, is it proof of guilt? Absolutely not. But it's worth noting that someone has no reaction to finding someone bludgeoned to death.
The other differences are, and I don't know if I sort of said this before in a previous sidebar or not, but I think that people's reactions are difficult to sort of gauge, but if you know them, it's easier to make that determination. I don't think that Rich Madison knew Scott Baldwin. I would say that Lori knew James Long to a certain degree. Still, you can't base everything on it, but either way,
No, that's a good point. That's a good point that if you know someone and you know them well and you've seen them react to other situations, then you probably can gauge whether a reaction is typical or not.
Jacinda, I've known you long enough that I can tell if you like your Manhattan based upon your reaction.
Susan, can you tell?
Not really, actually.
I mean, I'll drink it regardless.
I've never seen her not drink it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So you have to look for the subtle signs that there's a problem.
But there's also the fact that, like, even aside from reactions, aside from like thoughts and suspicions of coworkers, according to Detective Sharon Whaley's report, there was no blood on Earl O'Byrne's keys, which is just kind of an offhand comment in one report. And yet it seems a pretty critical, like, case-changing issue. Like, why was no one freaking out about the fact that a guy whose hands are just coated and caked in blood could not possibly have used those keys to lock up the store after the assault?
Yeah, I mean, the crime scene photos are really, really bloody. There is a lot of blood all
His
over.
hands are covered. Like, he would have left blood on the keys. It's just full stop. There's no way he handled those keys and did not leave blood there.
There are a lot of little sort of points in this case, right? A lot of little pieces of evidence that have to be strung together. And I think that you two did this sort of amazing job of looking at these points. And when you were explaining it all to me, it was like, oh, wow, like, look at that. This crime scene and the bank bags and the keys and all of this stuff. But it was all information that was there that people could have put together.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times people just, in this case, people were putting the puzzle together incorrectly or not even realizing all the pieces that were there. The fact that his keys are there and they don't have blood on them, if his keys were gone.
Okay, so yeah, someone locked the bathrooms after they left and took the keys, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, so it's got to be a pretty big clue at that point that you at least have to investigate further.
Yes. Well, they did investigate further to the extent they went and polygraphed the employees, and they all passed, so the end. The same reason that Nutter was cleared, too. He passed the polygraph, so the end.
I think some of my favorite memories of Kalamazoo is just having the two of you lean out the window. Is your name Alan?
I don't know how many people we asked.
A lot.
Like, finding Alan has proven to be very, very difficult.
Yeah. But also he was around because we kept talking to people who had seen him not too long ago. So we knew he was around. We just never had any luck ever.
I mean, we definitely, had to look like people who were trying to buy drugs or something. We'd be like slowly like pulling up to gas stations, like staring at someone who was like panhandling or sitting out there like over and over again.
Our theory was that people, like, at the gas station, when we go check and see if he'd been there, they must have thought we were like social workers or something because they never asked, but they just kind of like rolled with it. We showed up like, have you seen this guy around lately? We're trying to find him.
Trying to give him a summons. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. It was interesting experience, that's for sure.
And the worst part of not finding him was that we knew next time we went back to Kalamazoo, we would have to keep on looking.
It's important to find him because we want to hear his story in his words.
He also looks like the man outside the building, right? And he has a history of robbing stores on that street. And now there's a connection to he's having an affair with the woman where the bloody antique wrench is found. I mean, I think our sudden interest in James Long didn't make us any less interested in Alan Nutter.
Yeah, exactly.
We did speak to Renee, though, his girlfriend at the time that the murder happened. Well, girlfriend could be putting it too strongly. I remember one time we were having a debate over side pieces versus main piece.
She came up with a side piece, right? He had a lot of side pieces.
Yeah, I do remember the debate because I remember the two of you explaining it to me and telling me what you felt the definition of each was.
Yeah, which one women in his life are which. And Renee, I 1,000% believed what she told us. Like, she's been under suspicion too for, as long as Nutter has, with a lot of people really truly believing she's helping cover this up. And I walked away from that interview feeling very sure that that's not what happened. She's been accused of this for a long time for no real basis, and partially because of confusion over how many girlfriends Nutter actually had.
Right. So when people are calling in tips about Alan's girlfriend faked an alibi or Alan's girlfriend drove him there, detectives assume they're talking about her. And it turns out he had multiple girlfriends, and it could have been any one of them.
What also seems to have happened is that, so like 1 or 2 nights before Earl O'Byrne was killed, Nutter broke into a John Deere store and stole all the weed whackers. And Renee was with him when this happened. She was in the car and she was going like, what the heck are you doing? That was not her plan for the night. And it seems like she did go tell people like, oh my God, I was with Nutter and he broke into the store last night. And it was so close in time to Earl O'Byrne's murder that some witnesses later came forward and said, hey, Alan's girlfriend, Renee, told us that he broke into the shop that night and did the crime.
Right, because it's so close in the timeline that by the time she saw some of these people, it was the day or two after the bike shop.
Yep. And their story, and part of why I feel confident that they were talking about the John Deere store, not the bike shop, is how these witnesses' interviews sort of evolved over time. To me, it seems very clear that when they first start talking about what Renee said, they're describing the John Deere robbery. And it's only after several interviews with detectives and private investigators that their stories start to shift, and they're now talking about the bike shop explicitly when it did not start off that way.
Well, one of the things that dawned on me at the time about this Alan Nutter situation, when you explained to me about the John Deere store, it's not that different than Scott, meaning that they're both stealing things. They're both taking things that don't belong to them, and they have a habit of doing that. So when you sort of put them in proximity to when something else happened, it becomes plausible in some people's minds that they've done it. And I think that, in Alan's sort of MO, he's literally robbed a store down the street 2 days or a day before this happens. Yeah, he's a suspect. And he looks just like the guy.
And their tips called in saying he used to work at the bike shop.
Yeah. I mean, so like this is someone we need to speak to. And there's a lot pointing in that direction. I also want to find out, how is it that this guy has so many women in his life? Like there's just
That's a mystery we never did solve. This was our second case we worked on in Kalamazoo. The first, of course, being Jeff Titus. And last week was the 3-year anniversary of Jeff's exoneration.
I took a moment to catch up with Jeff and to ask him about the last 3 years and his thoughts on our current season of Proof. Here's what he had to say. Jeff, last week was your 3-year anniversary from getting out of prison. What have the last 3 years been like for you?
It's been ups and downs. I first got out. Then June 1st, I got exonerated, which took a world of stuff off of me and everything and cleared. And then I bought me a house with 10 acres, and I've been working on greeting cards. Then I kept trying to find someone to go out with, but bad luck. Once I said I was in prison, it was...
Well,
there's people who still think I'm guilty.
I was going to ask, is it hard for people to believe that you're innocent?
There's those that totally believe it, strongly support it, but there are others who say, oh, he just got out on a technicality, even though I'm exonerated.
How does it make you feel when people question your innocence?
It hurts that they can't see the truth. And I tell everybody, I said, Jacinda and them have got a new podcast out. If you see this new podcast, it reflects back to my case all the time. And what went on with me is going on with that guy.
You'd met Scott Baldwin when the two of you were at Lakeland together.
Correct.
And there's some other people in the podcast you'll hear about who you knew inside. How did you, when you met Scott, I don't know if he told you he was innocent too or not. He didn't go around talking about it a lot, I don't think.
No.
Compared to you, Jeff, everyone says, Jeff talked about it all the time.
Oh, I do.
Yeah. But even on the inside.
Even on the inside, I'm an innocent guy. There's 6 people I think I met at Lakeland who were all arrested by the Kalamazoo County cold case team.
Yeah.
But 6 of them, all right there at one time.
So have you been listening to the podcast?
Yes, I have.
And what's it like hearing, someone else's story that's so similar to your own?
It's so similar, it's pathetic. I mean, it's like everything was rehearsed from, let's say, my case or their case, and they went right through and just did that with everybody. Come back and question you again and again.
You and I talked about Scott's release and how different it was from when you got out.
I know he was in bad health, or at least he got to, see some of his family members, but he did feel freedom. A little.
A little, yeah. But you know better than anybody, how desperate you are to get out, and then to not be able to enjoy it. It's just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
As people listen to the podcast and hear these stories, similar stories to your own, what do you want people to keep in mind as they're listening?
Definitely keep an open mind. Keep an open mind, because I'm not the only one. Something's wrong, and you need to look at it, but have that open mind and listen to it.
All right, Jeff. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to me.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thanks. Bye. And continue listening to the podcast. There's cases out there, and you be the judge and listen to them. Y'all have a nice day.
Thanks, Jeff.
I will say that as an aside to all of the sort of crazy investigations and long nights we were working in Kalamazoo, there was a night where Jeff met us, and the three of us and Susan's baby and Jeff all had dinner. And there was something incredibly nice about that. You remember, one, it's how the three of us all got together working on stuff, but also when you see him sitting there having dinner and holding Susan's baby, you start to realize why all those long hours end up being worth it, because you can help change someone's life.
If you told me in 2020 that one day Jeff would be bouncing my baby on his knee, I would not even, I'm glad we're in this reality and this would happen, but I would not have guessed that would be how things would have played out.
There are some actually pretty good pictures from that. Maybe we'll post one. Jacinda, if I remember correctly, didn't Jake from season
Jake
2
called. Yeah, he did while we were there on video.
Yeah.
So they were able to talk for a minute, and
We were able to talk for a minute with Jake, and also Jeff was able to say hi to Jake, who hopefully one day soon we'll all be having dinner with as well.
So next week, Kevin and Jacinda return to Alabama to talk to Stacy again, and maybe James Long.
You've been listening to Proof, Sidebar, a podcast by Red Marble Media in association with Glassbox Media. Send us your questions and comments at proofcrimepod@gmail.com. Follow us everywhere with the handle @proofcrimepod and on our website, proofcrimepod.com. Thanks so much for listening.